Possessing your thing.
Do you know what? That just reminded me, I was reading up on people who were suing mortgage brokers. So, because the houses are getting repossessed now, obviously, houses are getting repossessed because the mortgage brokers were advising them to get 2-year fixed terms. Like quite a few of them were advising. But after looking into it, they realised that period when you were at 1% and 2% and all that stuff, even sub 1% at sometimes, was an all-time low for the first time in however long, if not history, whatever.
Yeah.
So now people are trying to take these mortgage brokers to court. I don't know if they're going to win or not, but under the basis of they were giving them misconstrued information, which has now led them into debt and getting their houses repossessed.
Yeah, but it don't make no sense at the end of the day when you think about it. Everybody's a genius in hindsight.
Yeah.
Everybody can say, "Oh, you should have told me." Like at the end of the day, the mortgage broker gave you the best advice based on the information they had at the time. No one's going to say they knew that Ukraine and Russian war was going to happen. No one knew what the effects of Brexit was going to be. No one knew that the Bank of England were going to increase interest rates and it still wouldn't bring down inflation as expected. So they've had to keep on increasing it. Just last month, they're saying they won't go past 4 or 5. Now we're at 5%. So, but they wouldn't go past 4.5. Now we're at 5%. So it's very easy for people to look back and say, oh, you should have told me to do this, or you should have told me to fix it. Do you know what I mean? Again, when you fix, there are fees if you want to take it out. Some people prefer the flexibility of a 2-year fix as opposed to a 5-year, where you're in a 5-year now. If you want to sell, there's exit charges, there's all of these types of things that you might not want to have to pay. Do you know what I mean? It's really important that people don't try and look back and then try and blame people, or you should have told me this or show me that, because nobody knew. But we'll see what happens in court.
As you were saying, like in terms of like people's houses getting repossessed, like right now, nobody is showing these things. Sometimes I sit and I think like, well, how are people managing in this time? Because like I knew a lot of people who were taking out mortgages when they were like 2% and they were like, okay, cool, like we're doing all right. But now it's gone to 4 or 5%. I wonder what is going on, because I know that it was a case where it wasn't plain sailing for everybody.
Yeah.
So now that things are quadrupled, I do think to myself like, wow, like how are the majority of people handling things? Maybe some people, their terms haven't finished yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing is, a lot of people are looking at getting a maximum amount they can borrow for the minimum amount of deposit. That was the idea that seemed to like work and reign. But the reality is that what you wanted to do was look at how much can I actually afford. The monthly payment is the most important thing, because that's what you are committing to paying this monthly payment for the next 25, 30, 35 years. So you need to make sure that the monthly payment makes sense. Can I still afford that? If it's at 2%, can I still afford that at 3% or 4%? What does that look like? What does the monthly payments look like? What does that mean to the lifestyle, the life I'm living and so forth? Can we still maintain our lifestyle if it doubled in interest rate? So these are the types of questions that should have been happening, but instead the questions were, oh, my friend just got a bigger house. I've got a 4-bed. My friend just got a 6-bed, so now I need a 7-bed. It's like we're just forever trying to compete, trying to compare, trying to over-push ourselves. It's never enough. And so because of that, and this is why it's so important to know your why, know your goals, know the life that you want to live for yourself, and only compare yourself to that, only push yourself to achieve that. Don't push yourself to achieve somebody else's dream, somebody else's goal, somebody else has.
Your own sense of direction.
Yeah, have your own thing of what's important to you, what you want. Otherwise, you'll just forever be chasing. Do you know what I mean? Like the man them that forever chasing the same girl for the longest time. She's been having man, you still chasing her. Like broke up with a man, you thought you had a chance. She got a new man. She still didn't want you. You're still texting. You're still sending DMs. You're not seeing the signs. And this is what men are doing in their house. They just don't want to see all the red flags that were there. They just ignored them because they were so desperate to get the yard. And you finally got the girl, you've done your walk. After you've walked, you don't want her no more. Do you understand? You know like that, where you finally bought the yard, you got the yard now, you're living in the area like, this ain't even what I thought it was going to be. Now I need to get another yard. No, now I need to move somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? So actually you need to know what you want for yourself, like, and why you want it. Like, and make sure that the reasons make sense. It's not ego, it's not comparison, it's not peer pressure, it's not following the crowd. It's actually important to you.
So you think right now, if somebody had money for a deposit, but they were looking at like how the interest rates are and it's just wild, it's just best just to keep that money into a savings account or something, isn't it?
Potentially, but there's some bargains out there. We're seeing house prices going down. So there are some opportunities, especially in areas where there's not as much competition. there are some house prices are going down quite a bit. So, you know, they always say cash is king, right? So if you've got the money and you can make things happen, you know, the next, you know, 12, 18 months, there's good potential for you to do that until, you know, they get these interest rates and get inflation under control and the interest rates under control. So I wouldn't say don't buy nothing because, you know, whatever. I'd say keep an eye out, know what area you want to buy in, know your categories, the things that are important to you, and keep searching and you'll see new stuff come on the market. And the great thing about doing that is when you're looking at the same areas that you can then see a house and know, oh, that's overpriced, or that's because you're looking at houses of a certain style in that area, so you know what to expect from that area.
What kind of rates do you think that it will get to, like when it stabilizes? Do you reckon?
I hope it doesn't go too much above 5. We might go up to 5 point, might see 5, 6s, whatever. But I think, you know, we're hoping that it will come down from there and get back to the kind of 3s, 2, 3s, 4s.
It won't go to 1 again, innit?
No, I don't think it will go down to 1 anytime soon. It's not in anyone's interest to have it that low. But I think it will come back down, you know, so it's more manageable. Because it doesn't just hurt mortgages. You talk about loans, overdrafts, credit cards, any sort of financial debt, those prices are going up. So
I read somebody talking about you might have to start looking into doing 25-year mortgages like how they're doing in America and that, but I don't know who that suits.
Mortgages are 25 years now. It must be longer than that.
No. I mean the term, full term. I'm talking about term. You know, like fixed.
Oh, fixing it for the whole
That's what I meant to say.
at one price.
Yeah, one price.
Okay,
fixed.
for the whole term.
Yeah. I was thinking.
It's a bit crazy.
It's
a bit extreme, but I get it. I know mortgage brokers. Obviously, they live on the fix for 2 years.
Exactly.
They get paid again. They're living off that. So
Yeah.
I get why they would say, look, try and get the best rate possible. But it depends on what rate are they offering you from the outset, because, you know, if it's quite high, you lock it in high and then the rates come down, you're not going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
At the same time, if rates go up, you're not going to be hurt by that. So it all depends on what makes sense.
What do you think about that for me? Would you ever talk to them about it?
Yeah, because I don't understand like their current situation. They have a mortgage on the house. They have a mortgage on a house that's like 3 doors down from the house.
Oh, they got 2. They got 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't really understand it. Sometimes when I ask them questions, it's like they don't understand it either. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's the problem what I was saying earlier. Like, a lot of the time parents are not going to have that conversation because they see you as a child. But actually, these are the conversations you'll be having. And then once your child now becomes an adult and starts making money, because you treated them like a child for so long, now when you want to try and give them advice, they don't want to hear it from you. If I share my financial journey with my kids and what we're going through and the things that we're going through, when they start to make money, they'll reciprocate. They'll do the same. Because we're used to having these conversations, and they'll say, "Well, Daddy's told me this, so I can tell Daddy this." Do you know what I mean? Whereas if we just keep it, you know, you're a child. This is too old for you, too grown up for you. Stay where you're at. The child will grow up and eventually become an adult.
Yeah.
And so they need to know these things before they get to that stage where they've got money in their hands and they've got these decisions to make, and then they're making bad decisions for themselves.
That's how other communities are a step ahead, man. They bring their like the younger ones in from an early stage, whereas with us it's almost like it's taboo in the household to speak about that.
Because even if me, like my dad was saying how he wants me and my sister to take over the property, and I'm just thinking, when were you gonna tell me this?
Come on.
Like, when were you actually gonna tell me this? And I'm just thinking, okay, I don't know how that's gonna work.
That's what they do. They just blurt stuff out in the middle of nowhere, from nowhere. No one was asking you. Now all of a sudden I've got this responsibility I've got to look up to. Like, and I get it means well. Do you know what I mean? But I can't just tell you you're going to inherit something. I need to prepare you for it. Yeah. You need to understand how the mortgage works. You need to understand how the property value, why it's valued at that amount. You need to understand how to maintain it, how to look after it. Oh, we've got tenants that we're renting it out to. How do we find the tenants? You know, will they stay? Do you want them to stay long term? Do you want to replace them? Are we planning to up the rent? These are all the things that, you know, they should be sharing with you so you can get an understanding of the thing that they want you to now inherit and manage. Because how are you going to manage it properly if no one teaches you? Do you know what I mean? So it's so important that those open lines of communication are there.